I'm Katie Couric. Tonight, the St. Valentine's Day weather mess. Heart-stopping hazards on the highways, heartbreaking delays at the airports. But through it all, love finds a way. Also tonight, the president warns Iran about arming Iraqi insurgents.
I intend to do something about it.
The new drug abuse epidemic. Teenagers getting high on drugs as close as the family medicine cabinet.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Hi, everyone. It'll be dinner at home this Valentine's night for a lot of people on the East Coast. It's just too nasty to go out. That storm we've been telling you about all week moved in, turning highways into sheets of ice and leaving several states under piles of snow. More than 2 feet of it is expected in parts of upstate New York and New England. At least 12 deaths are now blamed on the storm, and more than 300,000 homes and businesses have lost power. Kelly Wallace has more now on this dangerous day.
Blinding snow and sleet. That's what drivers face today on the roads from Ohio to the Atlantic coast. In northern Indiana, truck driver Patrick Wright gave up after battling the blizzard all the way from Nebraska.
It's just too slick, too horrible, too many wrecks.
In many areas like Boston, the freezing rain turned streets into sheets of ice. Almost 1,500 flights were canceled from the Midwest to the Northeast, leaving frustrated passengers and frazzled ticket agents. The FAA's command center was doing its best to sort out the mess.
Slows everything down. That's pretty much what it does.
In Washington, this woman has been grounded since Tuesday.
They canceled the 9:30, the 11:45, the 4:15, and the 7:30.
Even prize dogs on their way home from the Westminster Kennel Club show in New York couldn't catch a flight. Down south, solid ice snapped power lines in Lexington, Virginia, and throughout the Mid-Atlantic, guaranteeing candlelight dinners tonight for hundreds of thousands. But on Valentine's Day, this blizzard failed to chill the mood in St. Louis, where 100 couples tied the knot outside.
It's cold, but it's wonderful.
And these are for you.
Thank you so much.
In Suffern, New York, romance didn't suffer.
What do you think about getting your flowers in the middle of an ice storm?
I think it's wonderful. I think you guys are brave to be out here in this weather.
Amanda Lysak is braving the roads to help out a local florist.
As long as I take it so, you'll get your flowers on time, so don't worry.
The good news, the snow and sleet are over here in Suffern and should be wrapped up in the rest of the Northeast by tonight. Katie?
Kelly, the snow may be moving out, but what about the bitter cold?
That's right. Folks, definitely not in the clear just yet. Biting winds and frigid temperatures expected throughout the region overnight and into tomorrow. And Katie, that is going to be a dangerous combination for anyone on the roads.
Stay bundled up, Kelly. Thanks so much. As the snow fell on Wall Street, stock prices rose. The Dow picked up 87 points to close at an all-time high. The Nasdaq gained more than 28. The market got a boost from the chairman of the Federal Reserve, who said he expects inflation to ease. But a lot of American workers received some very bad economic news today. Chrysler is cutting 13,000 jobs, most right here in the U.S. Here's Anthony Mason.
Chrysler workers were calling it the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Disaster. Disaster.
This Newark, Delaware plant is one of 2 facilities Chrysler says it'll close.
It's going to be very difficult for a lot of people, and I feel bad. I'm in that group too.
Chrysler lost more than $1 billion last year. To survive, the company says it needs to cut 13,000 jobs. What's wrong with Chrysler?
Well, the Detroit disease has hit Chrysler just like it hit Ford and GM.
Chubba Chetta, editor of Car and Driver, says this is the Detroit disease. Sales of profitable trucks and SUVs are way down. Gas prices way up. Together, GM, Ford, and Chrysler have now announced more than 100,000 job cuts.
We are very much aware of the hardship.
Dieter Zetsche heads Daimler Chrysler. The company formed when the maker of Mercedes bought the American automaker back in 1998.
Dear Dr. Z.
In Chrysler commercials,
what have been the benefits of the merger between Daimler-Benz and Chrysler?
Get in.
Zetsche has touted the German-American marriage, but today he would not rule out putting Chrysler up for sale.
Our thinking does not exclude any options, and this means all options are on the table.
If Chrysler were to be sold, what would that mean for Detroit?
Well, the question is who would buy Chrysler, and the other American car companies aren't going to be buying Chrysler.
In doubt for Chrysler workers now, not just their jobs, but the future of their company.
Daimler-Benz paid $40 billion for Chrysler. If they do sell, estimates now are they'd get less than half of that back. Katie?
And Anthony, if Ford and GM won't buy Chrysler, who might?
The most talked about name, Renault, the French car maker that owns Nissan. But the most intriguing idea, maybe a Chinese company looking to get a foothold in the U.S. and an established brand name. But it's all speculation.
All right, Anthony Mason. Anthony, thank you so much. Now to the fighting in Iraq. Today, 6 more American deaths were reported and thousands of U.S. troops fanned out across 3 Baghdad neighborhoods as part of that new security crackdown. Meanwhile, back in Washington, the Marathon House debate over the president's troop buildup continued toward a vote expected on Friday. Let's bring in correspondent Jim Axelrod from the White House, where the president held a news conference today. Jim, the president had some tough words for both Congress and Iran, didn't he?
He sure did, Katie. The president said that House members can have all the non-binding resolutions they want, but when it comes to votes that might cut off any funding for the war in Iraq, he was explicit. Don't even think about it. And still, he saved his toughest warning for Iran. Specifically, stepping up his charge that Iran's government is behind attacks on American troops in Iraq, and that explosives used in those attacks were provided by an elite Iranian unit, the Quds Force.
We know the Quds Force is a part of the Iranian government. I don't think we know who picked up the phone and said to the Quds Force, go do this, but we know it's a vital part of the Iranian government. What matters is that we're responding.
Responding means firing at any Iranians found plotting inside Iraq.
And when we find devices that are in that country that are hurting our troops, we're going to do something about it, pure and simple.
But do what exactly? The president was quick to say he isn't talking about attacking or invading Iran.
Does this mean you're trying to have a pretext for war? No, it means I'm trying to protect our troops. That's what that means.
Yet Middle East expert Martin Indyk says the tough talk may have the opposite effect.
What it's likely to do is not to get the Iranians to back away, but rather tempt them to show us that they can't be pushed around.
And that raises another concern, that Iranian pushback will come in the form of even more resistance to dismantling its nuclear program, something President Bush says is still the greatest threat coming from Iran. Katie?
And Jim, meanwhile, it's really coming down there still, right? The snow?
Yeah, time to get inside.
Okay, thanks so much. The Bush administration agreed today to open the door to more Iraqis fleeing the war. Since the 2003 invasion, fewer than 500 Iraqis have been allowed into the United States. The new plan would let 7,000 refugees come here over the next year, still just a tiny percentage of the 2 million who have fled their country. For some Iraqis, the chance to come to the United States is literally a matter of life and death. Chief Foreign Correspondent Lara Logan has their story.
Army came over here. Iraqi interpreters have to keep their faces hidden to survive working so closely with U.S. troops. They are the eyes and ears of American soldiers here, but for that, they are hunted down and murdered.
What's she saying?
There are close to 10,000 translators in Iraq alone, but until now, only 50 special visas to the U.S. are available each year for both Iraq and Afghanistan. For interpreters like Timmy, whose real name and face we can't reveal, that's almost a death sentence.
When we sign the contract, we says sign the contract for death, for executed.
You're signing your own execution order?
Yeah.
Sergeant Jason Krieger and Timmy are like brothers after nearly a year in combat together.
He's pulled soldiers out of trucks after the truck's been hit with an IED. He's protected me while I was rendering first aid to a soldier.
You trust him with your life?
Absolutely. I've trusted him with my life multiple times.
Both believe Timmy will die if he stays in Iraq, but he needs a U.S. general's signature to apply for that special visa. Problem is, he doesn't work with any.
Do you think someone's going to kill you?
Another interpreter who uses the name Moon told us she's living on borrowed time. Last year, murderers sent to kill her mistakenly killed another woman on her street.
When I see strange numbers, I don't answer the phone. So you have to hide? Yeah, like a rat. Like a rat, all the time.
Moon was one of the first to apply for a special visa, helped by her colleague, Army Reserve Sergeant Steve Valley. She got initial approval last September, but had to wait 5 months for the State Department to process the application.
I can't say it enough. It's life and death.
I need to take it with me.
Now, Moon has to make the costly and dangerous journey to be interviewed at the U.S. Embassy in neighboring Jordan. And there's no guarantee she will get a visa.
I've seen what these people have gone through, and they deserve better.
What you saying, Johnny?
What these interpreters hoped for when they signed up was a better future inside Iraq. Now their only hope lies outside the land they never wanted to leave. Lara Logan, CBS News, Baghdad.
We've got much more CBS News ahead. Coming up next, CBS News in Focus. These veggies may be headed for your plate, but are you sure they're safe enough to eat? Our special series continues. And later, something every parent should know, the latest way teenagers are getting high. CBS News in Focus. Hold on to your forks, everybody. We're looking this week at food safety. In a CBS News poll, about 4 out of 10 Americans said they've had food poisoning at one time or another. That's tens of millions of people. After the recent E. coli outbreaks linked to California produce, John Blackstone reports tonight the industry there is taking action to make sure it doesn't happen again and to convince you and me our food is safe enough to eat.
In California's Salinas Valley, the new focus on food safety can have farm workers looking like hospital workers. Their dress is almost surgical. Their tools are treated with disinfectant. It's just part of what has become common practice on the fields where Rod Braga grows broccoli, spinach, and lettuce.
We always are open to the safest way that we can do stuff. Obviously, we want to make sure that the food supply is safe. That's the most important thing.
While Braga's crops were not contaminated by E. coli, like every grower, he faces the challenge of convincing consumers vegetables won't hurt them.
Is this really safe for me to eat? I mean, yeah, I think about it all the time.
Even with all the news coverage over the E. coli, you never really knew how it happened.
When spinach was pulled off the shelves last fall, tracing the contamination that killed 3 and sickened more than 200 was frustratingly slow. Even now, the exact source is uncertain. To trace contamination faster when it occurs and to more quickly stop the spread of disease, California growers are stepping up record-keeping and inspections. Still, some critics worry these voluntary measures aren't enough.
When I look at the expanse of these fields, I kind of think, well, you can't protect this from everything.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we can't put a fence around every single field, and we're not growing it in a greenhouse. But we are testing soil, testing water, testing seed, testing every single input that we put in it.
Well, farmers and government regulators are looking for ways to make things safer here in the fields. Consumers may have part of the answer much closer to home. Food safety expert Christine Brune advises carefully washing every single leaf of unbagged lettuce and spinach under running water.
We rub it to help dislodge any little bacteria that might be sitting there that we don't see with our eyes.
But she says bagged greens are triple washed and can't be made any cleaner.
Take the scissors, clip it open, and dump it right onto your plate.
Sometimes, however, even triple washing doesn't get all the bacteria, as last year's E. coli outbreak revealed. So experiments are now underway using radiation to treat produce. Scientists say it kills bacteria, but critics worry radiation may affect taste and nutrition. In California, farmers are following new guidelines that detail when and how they should check everything from irrigation water to compost to dust blowing in from nearby fields.
Obviously, as a grower, we're willing to go as far as we have to go, and we'll do whatever it takes.
After all, growers say no one has a bigger stake in food safety than those whose livelihood depends on consumer confidence. John Blackstone, CBS News in the Salinas Valley.
By the way, the cost of last year's food scare to the Braga Ranch was nearly $800,000. Tomorrow on the early show, how safe is school food? The cafeteria test. And tomorrow night here on the Evening News, a test lab that studies how to respond if these wide open farmlands become targets for terrorists. Coming up next, teens and prescription drugs. What you don't know could hurt your kids. A different kind of substance abuse is making news tonight. A new report that may require a serious talk with your teen. While kids are using fewer street drugs, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy says many as young as 12 are getting high on addictive prescription medications. And nearly half say their source for these drugs is a relative or friend. Sharon Alfonsi reports on this very troubling trend.
No one would cast her as a drug dealer.
I didn't look like a burnout.
Yeah.
I went to private Catholic school. No one would have ever thought, that I was someone who dealt prescription drugs.
But at 14 years old, Megan was. It started with Adderall, a drug used to treat attention deficit disorder.
The person I used to get my Adderall from would steal it from his little brother.
Then she'd sell it to classmates looking for an edge on studying.
I'd go days without sleeping or eating.
Megan, like many of the teens she sold to, became addicted to the high, searching the internet to see how much she could safely take, but swallowing fistfuls of pills anyway.
I remember one night laying in my bed and my heart was hurting because it was pounding so fast and being very scared that I was going to die.
Today, she's clean, but a new report shows more teens than ever, more than 2 million, are using prescription drugs to get high. Only marijuana is more popular.
These kids think that they're cleaner because of the package that they're in.
They're not. Victoria Weinbarger treats addicted teens at Pathway Family Center in Michigan. She says all but 4 of the kids in this classroom abused prescription drugs.
Sometimes I would go over friends' houses, and if they had like a medicine cabinet and I was in the bathroom, I would look through there.
Jordan was 11 years old when he started abusing painkillers like OxyContin and Vicodin.
You said that there were moms who were giving you prescription medication. Were they suburban housewives?
Yeah, they were, just normal moms.
Does she just look like a regular housewife? Or?
Yeah, and then on the side she was, selling me drugs.
As White House drug czar John Walters said today, the drug dealer is us. So how do we cut off the supply line? Monitor your pills and your kids. You may even have to lock up grandma's medicine cabinet. Sharon Alfonsi, CBS News, New York.
And coming up next, how far would you go to get a date for Valentine's Day? Wait till you see how these guys are looking for love. There are a lot of Mr. Lonelys out there this Valentine's night. For that matter, a lot of Ms. Lonelys, too. But in one corner of the world, they're finding each other over a drink of milk. Here's Mark Phillips.
Come on, girls. He's looking for women at this romantic time of the year. Girls! Except the girls Farmer Ewan Jones is chasing here are sheep. If only human women were as easy to round up.
The other farmers have been making fun of us, that thought of us as single, so they've been trying to help us find partners, really.
Which isn't easy. The hill country of Wales may have a brooding romantic quality, but most of the young women have left for the big cities, or they've already been snapped up. So Ewan Jones and a few other dairy farmers had an idea. They stuck their pictures on milk bottles like so many missing kids, except they're missing wives. The stickers direct interested parties to the inevitable website.
It's been amazing, really. We had 500,000 hits on our website on the first day.
Anything materialized romantically?
I think there's a couple of us got dates lined up over the Valentine's period anyway.
That other famous Welshman named Jones, crooner Tom Jones, has been singing about love here for years. Except now it is unusual to find someone. Even for the girl farmers, who've also joined the sticker hunt for a mate.
I'm 23 and we're getting, emails from everywhere really.
Saying what? How about it?
Well, some of them quite literally, yeah.
The traditional ways are changing. The livestock sale has always been a regular feature of life here, fattened up animals ready for market. Pity there hasn't been the same thing for people until now. Marketing has reach.
Already from the USA, we've had probably half of our messages have come from there.
But American girls interested?
Yes. Everybody from 20-year-olds to 57-year-olds.
For Ewan Jones and the others, this could be a dairy tale with a happy ending. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Denbigh, Wales.
Dairy tale. That was bad, Mark. That's the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. Happy Valentine's Day to you and the people you love. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.